Greetings, one bored dude, back again with the book. We're reading some interesting little tid points here, and I'm still kind of on the statement that he put that we don't want to have empathy, we want to have compassion for people. Because, and it says right here, empathetic resonance with fatigue and emphasizes distress. So, when you're empathizing with somebody, you are actually putting yourself in their shoes and you're thinking about your situation and you. And it's inherently selfish is how he's arguing on this. And being unable to differentiate between somebody else's plight and your plight leads to fatigue, burnout, and anger issues. And in fact, he cites a lot of clinicians and nurses and doctors and people in the medical field that they experience this. The other thing that he goes into saying is that when we exercise our minds by doing positive thinking and positive framing on things, that we're actually getting those brain gains. So, fun fact, I am at heart an absolute gym bro. I don't look it, I'm lean, I'm never gonna be a big dude, but I love going to the gym, I love exercising, I love running around, doing kind of whatever, burning off that energy. Anything to keep this calm. So when I run, and this is something that I always equated to in my drinking, because people always say with kindling, the withdrawals are always worse, right? And your body snaps back to exactly where it was when you started drinking. And I would argue against that. I would argue that it's more like working out or running and conditioning. You know, if I was running really heavy, 6 miles a day, and then I stop or I abstain from it for 3-4 months, somewhere in there, and then I go back out and I start running and I try and run at 6 miles a day every day, I'm a lot more prone to getting hurt because I'm not conditioned to deal with that. Your body will do away with extra stuff that you're not wanting. And the same thing is true, at least that's what he is arguing, with neurons in your brain and thinking positively, because as you start to think more positive, those connections start to become more relevant, you start to see them more, you start to notice them, you start to pick them out, and it suddenly just becomes kind of who you are. I thought that was really kind of interesting. There's more in this that he talks about. He says, what you create in the moment can become strengthened in the long run with practice. This is how a state becomes a trait. Being kind and compassionate in our inner and interconnections creates more integrity with the brain and more well-being in our lives. So what he is kind of talking about is the isolation. And if you're a real bad alcoholic like me, when you want to start drinking, you start to isolate. Everybody looks at isolating as shutting people off, withdrawing. And to a large degree, yes, that's true, but there's withdrawing from yourself as well. And he goes on, for example, when we honor the differences between ourselves and others, we are differentiating interpersonally. When we feel the suffering of another person, imagine how to help them, then take action to reduce that suffering. When we are compassionate, we are linking the differentiation between those that we are helping and ourselves. We extend the differentiation and the linkage to a larger sphere of what comprises our inner self. So what he's going into here is talking about how we are withdrawing not only from other people but from ourselves. And I've often said I could be in a room full of 1,000 people and feel alone. And that's because I don't know who I am, because I'm lost in empathy for other people. And it's not selfish to not be empathetic. And in fact, he's arguing that being empathetic is selfish. And he goes on to say that our inner selves, which is in our mind, and our inner selves, which is how we interact with other people, need to join up and be the one. He goes on to talk more about self-compassion or inner compassion. So not being so hard on yourself, not explicitly like going ape shit on yourself for a fail. And you know, I can point to so many different times in my life where I relapsed and I felt bad for myself, and I would start drinking even more. And I wasn't practicing self-compassion. Self-compassion wouldn't skip brushing their teeth for a month because he was depressed and he was drunk all the time. Self-compassion wouldn't drink to the point to where he threw up and just throw up all over himself sitting on the couch. Like, he wouldn't do that, right? That's gross. In any other state of mind, that's gross. But in that moment, I was like, this is happening. In fact, you can see a stain on my bed from where I drank 3 bottles of wine before 10 a.m. and I passed out in the bed and I threw up all over the bed. Didn't even bother to get up. I just and I laid there. He goes on to say, when we support this view of who we really are, who we are truly capable of being when we live fully, that ourselves, in fact, both inter and inner, can cultivate in a more integrated and vital way of being into the world. Compassion training is a way to cultivate such integration, both of our relationships and our inner skin-encased bodies and their skull-encased brains. Basically saying, when we're compassionate and we understand their plight but we don't identify with it, is when things start to progress. And you know, you hear that saying in AA all the time, you know, I tried to think my way into right thinking, or I have to act my way into right thinking is the way it's supposed to go. But I would argue, no, you gotta think right. And if you're going to help other people, you need to help yourself first. And so you need to practice that inner compassion, not the inter compassion, which I'm sorry if my accent really kind of screws up this lecture on it, but that's about as far as I got so far. I am halfway through the book. He's got some phrases on here. It's like, may all living things be happy. May all living things be healthy. May all living things be safe. May all living things be flourish and thrive. Take a deeper breath and now focus on these statements and turn into our inner selves and say, may I be happy and live with meaning and connection and equality and playful and grateful and a joyful heart, so on and so forth. Like, you're getting the idea of where it's kind of going. This is really kind of turning into a long thing, so I'm going to stop it for right now and cliff note the rest of it. Bye. Okay, so we finished the book Aware, and it left a lot. It left a lot to be wanted. If I'm being completely honest, the first half of it that I'd already recorded and talked about, that was really and truly like it as far as the meat and potatoes of what they were talking about. The rest of the book was more giving examples of how getting connected and becoming aware of everything improved their life. So, I don't know. It was, first half was really good. I enjoyed it. I got something out of it, especially the empathy portion. But outside of that, kind of a stinker. Anyways, so we have dumped that one. And we are on to mindfulness, an 8-week plan for finding peace in a frantic world. So we'll get started on that one. Okay, bye.